After 8 years of van life, I still cook most of my meals outside, although generally I would cook on my door table, but with it being well below zero, I wanted to have the doors closed so Frankie could be inside, cozy with the heater on, and that meant cooking on the ground like I did my first 3 years of van life before building the fold-up table. But it's worth it. It has been worth it all this time, and I would do it this way again if I were to start over, because I've had so many wonderful memories and experiences, and so many times waking up at these most beautiful places at the cost of a little bit of discomfort or inconvenience. And if at the start I had refused this path that hasn't been very comfortable and insisted on finding work and money and saving up to have all the right things for van life and all the comforts and luxuries that I once had in a house, I might not have ever ended up here. And I certainly wouldn't have as many years of memories as I've had. When it comes down to it, a kitchen inside the van with a vent and power, or like stuff that I would have had to buy to make it happen, would have just cost a lot more than it has to continually use this little whisper light stove that I had before van life from backpacking. So it's worked out well, and I really don't mind squatting and cooking on the ground, especially now that it's not all the time, but you know, it keeps you limber, so it's been good. After several very nice days at the beach, enjoying the waves and the wildlife, it was time to head inland for a different type of scenery and adventure. And as much as it was sad to leave the coast, I knew that what lied ahead would also be very soothing and pretty. So with that, we were off looking for a place to happen and making stops along the way. Is there firewood in there, Frank? In a bag. It might be dry. Franklin! What have you found? Wow. Okay, let's see about finding some other wood to have a fire tonight. Good job, Frank! Good job, Leave It. Hi, Frank. Are you having a nice snooze? So I filled this up just before leaving Squamish to about here. And now it's down to here. So that's about 5 days with about 10 hours average a day, or 8 to 10 hours a day heating. Generally, I don't mind climbing up and down the back of my van to access the roof or to get fuel, but with the snow and ice, it was pretty slippery. It made it very exciting. Normally, I would avoid actually having to fill the diesel tank from the roof and just go to a gas station every time it's low and leave the jerry can on the roof as a backup measure. Being out on the road and away from town and everything, and it being very cold, we needed to refill the diesel tank from the roof. So I had to lower it down. But even the effort of climbing up on the roof, I've found, is much less than it would be to chop wood if I had like a little wood stove or something. And overall, the heater is really efficient, even when it was quite a bit below zero. I know there's colder places to go in Canada than where I am, so it might burn more fuel there. But I actually got, I think actually longer burn time than I said. I think I said 8 to 10 hours, but I think it was more than that per day. And then, you know, it's like $10 or $15 to fill it if it's like really drained. And so like that per week is pretty decent heating cost, especially because on the coast, I don't need the heater most of the year. As soon as it warmed up above zero, I really wasn't putting it on, or I would just put it on for like an hour, get the van really warm, and then turn it off for the rest of the night. So I found that the diesel heater is much more efficient than I was expecting, much more cost effective than I was expecting. And somebody suggested that if you turn the van on to then fire up the heater, the battery lasts a lot longer. So I've been experimenting with that, and it is really good to do it that way, especially if your battery's getting a little low and you don't want to drive that day. Just turn the van on and run it for like 15 minutes during the heat up phase, and then that covers the power of starting up the heater as well as puts a bit extra in the battery bank, and then it can like run for quite a while. So that's been working really well. I'm really, really glad to have the heater, especially this winter is being extra cold and icky on the coast than it is sometimes. Sometimes you could go to the island and it would barely ever get below 0, but not this year. Not this year. And we were there for the coldest, snowiest week, which was absolutely gorgeous. So there's a few things about the heater that might be deal breakers for some people. One is the fuel pump goes tick, 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 tick. And I have my fuel pump like up in the passenger seat footwell where I have the diesel tank. And so I do hear it back here. It's not bad. And if it's raining, I don't hear it at all. It just blends in with the sound of the rain. They become one and the pump is unnoticeable. But looking back now, it was really, really smart to put the fuel tank where I did, because it makes filling so easily at gas stations or with the jerry can. And if I were to spill a little bit, it's really easy just to like rinse out and I don't have like a mess in my van. And then also I have the curtain that kind of separates the front from the back. So if there were to be any fumes, the door seal on the front door is really, really bad. So I feel like it would just go out there and not like come back into all this. But yeah, so far I think it's awesome. I had lived so long without heat. This is my 9th winter in a van, and so this is the first winter having heat. So I don't really see myself changing this system for something that takes up more space and is more work and more mess. And also like a wood stack, like it's really obvious on a van. Anytime I see a van around with like a little wood stack, I'm like, oh yeah, they live in it. And the smoke smell, like other people smell that from quite a ways away. But there is a thing about the diesel heater I did not expect, and that is how loud it is outside the van. Looking back now, I can remember times where I heard people's vans and I was like, what are they doing? What is that? And I didn't understand what it was. And now I know that it was a diesel heater, and it is significant. I put the heat on, Frank. Do you want to come back here? You can go on the bed. Look up. Let's navigate all the pile of stuff. We'll warm up soon, bud. Yeah, you may be toasty. Yeah. Soon you'll be nice and warm, Frank. It's good stuff, isn't it? Here you go.
Thank you.
You want to go for a drive, Frank? Okay. Not the easiest. Not an epic. That's nice. The river. Yeah.
It's really nice.
You want to come outside, Frankie? Got a glass of wine, Frank? Troy's pants? Let's go for a walk. In the last video, I talked about how when the tide comes in, the waves crashing can make so many different sounds depending on the angle of the beach or what the beach is made of. And rivers are the same way. If you ever spend time around a river, I'm sure you're well aware, but as you walk along a river or from river to river, the sound is different always of the water moving over the land. And that's something I really enjoy. I find a lot of peace in sleeping by rivers. Helps me sleep really well. And so it was nice to have this time also in the beautiful snowy forest and by these just absolutely wonderful rivers. So hopefully you enjoyed these moments of van life, sharing them with me and Frank and Troy. So if you did, please give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe down below if you haven't already. I really appreciate you watching. This was the end of our time on the island, unfortunately. And after this, we headed back to Squamish, where roads were quite a situation and I had to deal with an ice storm, but I will talk about that in the next video. But it was interesting. Van life got pretty interesting for a while. And yeah, so that's it for today. I got a cute clip of Frank to send you off on your way. I hope you're doing well and we'll see you soon. Bye.